Okay, we are rolling, and I am with one of my dear friends, Corbin Allred.
Charan, my brother, how are you?
I'm doing so well, and I mean, we truly have known each other for quite a long time.
Half
But
our
of course,
lives now.
yeah, I mean, more than half our lives, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy. So so Corbin, of course, just for you guys all know, like he's a fantastic actor. You guys have probably seen him. Like I first saw him, and I was blessed to see his performance in Teen Angel, and
Oh,
I mean, I
I'm
mean,
glad I could grace your life
dude, you
with
blessed
that
my
film.
life with some great shows on TGIF, which was awesome.
Yes,
But
thank you.
like Corb did like a lot of other, like you did Robin Hood Men in Tights, did all kinds of cool shows back in the day, and then got to work with Natalie Portman, Anywhere But Here, I think is a show.
Yep, yep.
And so that was awesome. But we truly met because, and this might be a surprise to a lot of people, but we were missionaries together in Australia. And
Yes.
Corbin, you were my zone leader, and
Yeah.
and then you were later on my like the AP. And so we had opportunities to serve together and to go and do experiences together, which was amazing and hilarious and awesome. And like I, like some of my favorite memories of going on exchanges and having fun always involved you because we just had
We
insane,
did.
insane things happen to us. Like the dude that got struck by lightning twice.
Yes. How did that guy? When he told that story, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
remember. I recall looking for any excuse to go on splits with you,
dude,
so we could just, we
yeah.
took it seriously enough
I mean,
that people knew we loved it and we had testimonies. But
yeah,
man, we made it so fun. And I think that's sometimes the
I
thing that's
know.
missing is you should be having fun. I recall Charan has a thing a lot of people maybe don't know, that if you ever witness him eating spicy food,
Yeah.
so if he eats anything with any significant spice, which is I find is interesting because you are East Indian,
I'm
correct?
Indian. Yes, yes.
Right. And fairly spicy food in some foods, right?
Yeah.
Because I know my favorite Indian place here in St. George, actually, they ask me how hot I want it, and I say medium, and depending on how angry the cook is, it
Yeah.
will determine whether I'm peeing blood the next day. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
if you eat something spicy, there were these things. Do you remember they were called spicy Indo noodles?
Yes. Like, was it the Thai noodles? Is it what they were?
Yes, they were like
Yeah.
in a little white package.
Oh yeah.
And I would make those for Charan, and I feel like I'd make you eat them. And if Charan eats spicy food, his head starts to itch so bad that he can barely function, and so he's just going places. And he's just scratching.
Just you saying this stuff, my head's already itching. Like I'm fighting the urge.
You're fighting the urge to scratch your head.
Yes, I don't know what I don't know what it is. Like just the thought of eating spicy food or smelling it or whatever it was. And I love spicy food, but I would just be scratching my head so much.
There's something so special about you. I also gave him a haircut on the mission, best haircut he's ever had.
Dude, let me tell you, I look like Corbin does now with his haircut. Like, you gave me a haircut, and I was like, I was terrified to like walk outside. And I think our mission president got upset at me. They're like, what are you gonna do with that? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess wait till it grows back, but.
I'm like crying because I remember cutting into like the front of your head, and like I shaved like the first like inch so that your hairline started.
Remember how I used to shave my forehead? I used to shave my forehead, guys, because I used to have hair just kind of coming all the way down.
It connected to his eyebrows.
It connected to my eyebrows. It was crazy. But yeah, we had a blast. And the thing that I loved about you was like, yes, you made it a lot of fun. The mission was great, like under your leadership and stuff, and going on exchanges with you and everything made it fun. But in the world of fun, it was a very spiritual thing, and we were able to accomplish some really cool things and have some really cool experiences. And I actually think back on those days because a lot of the way I live right now involves using fun as a means to like accomplish like really big things and awesome things. And so I'm super grateful for like those lessons. And also here's another thing that I learned about Corbin on the mission. He is a world champion clogger. Okay.
I think world is an exaggeration.
Well, look, it doesn't matter.
You can call
You are. And like, I was blown away because like you started like clogging all of a sudden. And in fact, Ryan Little, I was talking to him yesterday and he was saying, ask Corbin about the time Saints and Soldiers won an award and he just started clogging. Do you remember this?
I clogged at an award?
Yeah. At like
oh my gosh, I don't.
Festival. It was at the
Heartland
Film Festival. And
it wouldn't surprise me for Ryan to throw me under the bus like that in front of all those people and have him make me clog. I remember one time there was like a 4th of July parade. Yeah. And there were cloggers coming. This is in Provo, and there were cloggers coming down the 4th of July parade. Yeah. My whole family's like, "Get out there!" So I got out there in the street and was clogging. And that was actually, believe it or not, and I don't know if you were going to get into this, Charan, that was kind of the catalyst for me getting into the film industry.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that. We could talk about that right now if you'd like. But yeah, I'd love to know how you got involved in the industry.
Well, it was interesting. The performing. I grew up in Cottonwood Heights. Low middle class family. Working class family, and film was not. It was something I loved, but acting was never anything I'd considered. It wasn't something I thought could even be part of my life.
Hang on one second.
And no, you're good.
Yeah, keep going. Yep.
I didn't think it could be even a part of my life, but I loved watching movies. And this is back in the day where we didn't have instant access to 1,000 different films. It was like you had some VHSs, and sometimes it was 3 movies on one VHS, and you had to forward through. And so you watched the same movie over and over and over again. So I grew up watching those movies, and I loved it. But film was something so foreign to me. But my dad was a dancer. He was a professional tap dancer. He was a ballroom dancer. My mom did dance. And so dance was something that was kind of in the blood. And I actually was hanging out with a friend of mine, Cameron Ritchie, who was one of my best friends growing up. And he got into clogging. I'm not sure how he got into it, but one time I was over at his house and he was like, "I got to go to clogging." And he's like, "You could come with me." And I'm like, "Clogging? What's clogging? It sounds stupid, Yeah. And I go to this clogging practice that he does. And I'm there and I watched him. I'm like, "Man, this is actually pretty cool." But as I looked around, I was like, he was like the only guy, and there were just like a ton of cute girls. And I was like 13, 12, 13 at the time. I'm like, all right, dude, he's the smartest guy in town. Yeah. Like here he is with all these. So, but I loved clogging. I liked the sound of it. I liked the speed and everything about it. I was like, "Man, this is cool." So I went home and I told my mom, I said, "Hey, I think I want to try this." Yeah. So I got involved in clogging and it just came naturally to me. And I kind of worked my way through clogging and I competed and there were freestyle championships and a cappella championships that I would compete in and win. And I was really successful. But one thing that I was truly blessed for is I actually had a performance at I believe it was my church. And there was a lady from my ward who was a friend of our family's, and she just so happened to have read an advertisement in a newspaper. And you young people out there, if you don't know what a newspaper is, it used to be delivered to your house and it's on paper and it had the news in it because newspapers disappear. But she read this advertisement in the newspaper that advertised a Disney film that was being cast in Salt Lake. The casting director was going to be coming through Salt Lake. Yeah. And so for whatever reason, she saw me dancing. She thought of that advertisement that my mom hadn't seen, I hadn't seen, and she told my mom about it. Yeah. My mom approached me and said, "Hey, they're auditioning a Disney movie here. Do you want to go and like audition for a movie?" And I had never acted, no experience. I mean, I faked sick for school, but that was like, I wasn't that great at it. But I was, I pretended. I grew up pretending. I was always playing G.I. Joes and Legos and playing guns with my friends in the backyard. And so I was always pretending, and my imagination was wild. And it lent itself really well to acting. And so I went on this audition. I didn't get the part, but long story long, the casting director, called my mom into the room and said, "Listen, this kid's got it. You need to go to LA and you need to give this a shot." Wow. And we kind of brushed it off thinking, you tell everybody that there's, it's a scam. But no, she told a manager about me. The manager called. She's like, "When can you please come to Los Angeles? Give it 30 days. If nothing happens, then you can say you tried." And we couldn't afford to go any longer than that anyway. But we decided as a family, and it was a big decision, but we decided as a family to my older brother, who's also in the film industry, Jason Allred, and my younger sisters, Elise and Kelsey. And then my dad, of course, at the time, they decided they were going to sacrifice to let my mom and me go and see if I could, get in a movie. And we knew nothing. And we drove to Hollywood. We stayed in this little studio apartment for a month. I signed contracts with these agents and managers. It was just this crazy thing. And then I started going on auditions, and it was crazy because I was just getting callbacks. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, I booked a commercial. And then the next day I booked a lead role in a film that started filming the following week. And it was called Quest of the Delta Knights. No one's ever seen it. It was a little
dude. No, I think I've heard of this. Yeah.
The Mystery Science Theater mocked the movie, which was like, when that happened, I was like, yes, dude, Mystery Science Theater mocked us. Yeah. But the film after that was Robin Hood Men in Tights, and the Mel Brooks flick. And then from then on, it was 6 months out of every year I was in Hollywood doing film and television. And I was very blessed, to stay busy in a town full of very many, tons of talented people that don't always get a break. And I happen to be very fortunate and blessed and been able to kind of build my career there. So that's how it all happened. It was clogging.
Well, dude,
so clog if you have a chance.
You got to clog to get into acting, guys. That's the message.
That's it.
Well, it's crazy because, and here's the thing. I don't even know if you know this, dude, but you were actually very instrumental in me getting into acting. I don't know if you knew that or not, because I had considered doing a little bit of it, and I did like high school plays or whatever. I didn't really do much with it, but like the very first film actor, like legit actor I've ever met was you, and it was on The Mission. And I remember the thing was when I got there and, people talked about you and they're like, oh my gosh, he's going to be our leader. And if I remember, like, it was probably the May or June of 2000, you had become like our zone leader. And so I got to interact with you at that time.
Sounds right. Yeah.
And, it was crazy because of course I had seen Teen Angel, and I remember it was like one of those TGIF shows or whatever.
Yeah.
So definitely I was starstruck for sure. And then I remember like you were just like so cool. Like you made it just, it was never about you. You were super cool. And it was interesting as well because at the time that you were on The Mission, other films were coming out that you were in. And so you started getting like a little bit of a fandom and you're like, oh geez, like, yes, that's great, but I'm here to do a mission. But I remember having these conversations with you and you were kind of giving me some pointers and encouragement and all that stuff. And I took it to heart. And, like now I've had a good successful run in LA and done like some cool TV shows. And I think like, man, back in those days, you never think that when you're such a kid, or you're so young, like something that's significant could like be, like such a thing in the future. So
I don't think I knew that. I knew you had a passion for acting, and I could see it. I mean, I think that's maybe one of the reasons we clicked is, that part of our brain, the creative part of our brain always wanting to create, that's something that, that's something that the only medicine, that helps is to do it. And so I knew, and you were such a performer, and we were so good playing off each other. And, so much of missionary work is improvising. You're really trying to, answer questions. You're really trying to, and we made it fun. But I think that, I think that lends itself to, not just this, it makes me feel really good to know that, but even just saying to people, prospective missionaries and people who are missionaries now, and even people who aren't LDS, but feel like they have a mission, whatever it is, or I'll say Latter-day Saint. I know we're not supposed to say LDS, but you know what I mean. But I think it lends itself to the experiences that you have serving other people.
Yes.
Somehow it puts you in the path. There's something that happens that's pretty magical, spiritual, that puts you in the path of other people, that you become lifelong friends. And it's almost like you knew each other all along and you just happened to meet along this path. And then wonderful things come of it. And I can't tell you how many times my mission has been the inspiration for so many things in my life and the catalyst for so many decisions. I've thought back on things and experiences that I had and people I've met and and here we are. I'm sure we're going to work together long into the future doing things, and that would have happened no other way. And
there's no other
so
way.
That's cool.
There's no other way when you think about that, because I just keep thinking like, and the thing that I love as well, and I kind of pointed this out, was every moment of that, and it was a tough time. The mission was,
Sure.
Had challenges and stuff, but you had this ability to make it fun. You had the ability to make a situation fun, and you brought so much life, right? And I think that's so great. In fact, before we go on to more of the serious stuff I do want to talk about, I want to play a little game with you, because we can, and I got some pics from the mission, and I want you to tell me what is happening when we were going through whatever we were doing. Okay?
Oh man.
Okay. What is this one?
That one. Oh my gosh, what was this? Where were we? Were we at the SUAs?
No, this was just this was like right outside the mission president's office, because we just took a whole roll of pics.
I don't remember, dude.
Dude, I'll tell you exactly what we were doing. We were just making stupid faces. These
yes. I know that. Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. I remember in all these.
It's a good classic. We got a couple more. We got a couple more for you. We got a good look right there. Are you frozen, Corb? I think you might be frozen. Okay, we're back, guys.
Sorry about that.
Technical glitch. Corb's phone overheated, which is fine.
Tech issues.
Yeah, tech issues. But anyway,
the budget. It's our budget, dude.
It's our budget, man. I mean, we gotta. I don't know.
Hair in the gate.
That's what we gotta do, man. We gotta go back. We gotta retake, and I mean, it's gonna be such a seamless edit. It's gonna be so great. No one's gonna even know.
Oh yeah, no one's even gonna know.
Yeah, this is amazing. Well, okay, so we had a wonderful mission, and we were able to kind of move on, of course. And I got into acting. I got to see you thrive and start seeing you do like awesome stuff. Like you did like movies like Saints and Soldiers, and even though you died in the first one, spoiler alert, I got to see you, which was awesome.
I know.
That was my favorite.
Different guy, whatever.
Different guy. Was amazing. But and the thing that I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Corb act before, but like seriously, you're such a brilliant actor. Like you're very committed to your role, and every time I see you perform, it's just like it's amazing. I love seeing your performances. It's very honest. It's very real. You don't ever overact or go crazy, and so I love like watching some of the performances. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man.
Of course.
That means the world.
Dude, of course. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that you're doing right now, because you are currently a PA. Is that correct? At a
right
down in St. George.
Right.
And I remember, I don't know what year it was, but I remember you were making the shift to do more medical stuff. I mean, I knew acting was always going to be your passion. You're still going to be doing it, but I remember you making that choice to go into medicine. So tell me a little bit about that journey. Like what led you over there?
Yeah, it's interesting. Because a lot of people, when I talk to people and they say, well, wait a second, you're an actor and now you're here in the emergency room, taking care of me and putting me back together. And really how it all started is when I was a really young kid. It's kind of strange. I had this, I would say, semi-morbid fascination with medicine and emergency medicine in general, trauma. And to the point where my mom kind of thought like, I would get these first aid books. Like I was just fascinated by anything first aid, anything that showed emergency medicine, people being hurt, and how do you help them? How do you fix it? And I think some of it stemmed from having a really amazing pediatrician when I was growing up. There was a doctor named Gil Sanders, and he was just a wonderful pediatrician. And so I had this, I mean, from a very young age, this love for medicine. People would hurt themselves, and I'd have my book, and I'd be like, I can't even read, and I'm like trying to figure out how I can help them. And And that just stayed with me. And in fact, when I was young, I always thought, I'm going to go into medicine. This is before I became an actor. And acting happened. I mean, I really did stumble upon it, and it became this passion that I had not realized that I had. Sure. So much so that it's something that will always be the thing I am the most passionate about. And when I say acting, I mean storytelling. I mean across the board, whether I'm producing something, directing something, writing something, writing music, whatever it is, it's the creation of something.
You have passions to direct as well in the future?
I do. Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, that's absolutely. Awesome. And I hope to have that opportunity sometime in the future. And really because I realize, well, we'll get into this, and but back to the medical thing, but I fell in love with acting. And so as I worked in the film industry, I loved it. And like I said, I was very fortunate to have an excellent career, made a good living, and did very well in a very tough industry. But always in the back of my mind, I was like, medicine was kind of still scratching at me. And I felt this urge to influence people in a different way. And I don't mean to minimize film. Film is, I mean, man, you look at right now what's going on with COVID-19, people are quarantined at home, and who are we turning to make us feel well? Artists. We're listening to music, we're watching movies, we're watching TV shows, we're reading books. We're turning to artists to help us get through this hard time. Yeah. And in addition to all those other people that are providing necessary services. But I say that there was this part of me that I knew I had to do something more to help people. And medicine just was there. And so I actually went to it through an EMT program at UCLA in Los Angeles when I was there, just to get some skills and to kind of think, see if I could scratch that itch. In fact, I went through with Casey Clyde, who's another fantastic actor who
Yeah, I do. But did he do the EMT program?
Yeah, he's an EMT. Yeah, he went through our EMT program. And my wife, who became my wife later, but Mackenzie was, she was, we were dating at the time, and so we went through this program together, and so I became an EMT in 2003. I never did anything with it, but as the writer's strike happened, if you remember, the writer's strike happened in about 2007. Mm-hmm. It was pretty crippling to the industry, and my, the jobs I would usually get, they became very few and far between. Sure. And it so happened to be at this time, I was already thinking about an education. I thought, man, here I am. I'm 27, 28 years old. I have no college education. Not that that's necessary to be successful, but it was something I wanted to learn. I wanted to get better at and learn something and have a skill. And the writer's strike happened. I was married. I had a new baby. And it was the time where I was like, man, you know what? Now is the time for me to take a break. I'm never leaving film. I think people thought I was like retiring from acting. No, I'm alive and well. But I had to take a break and go to school. And I knew that if I didn't really commit the time and energy to go full time, I'd never get through it because medicine takes so long. So I just went 100%. It was a leap of faith. I talked to a brother-in-law of mine, Colin Marshall. He's a physician, and he was like, yeah, man, it's a hard road, but you can do it. And I'm one of those guys. I'm a goal setter, right? I set a goal and I'm going to go for it. And so we picked up and left Hollywood, moved back to Utah, through the grace of many people who helped us. Some members of Kansas, my wife's family, members of my family. I was able to go through undergrad. I became a paramedic. I started running 911 as a paramedic. So I was doing 911 ambulance here in Cedar City, Southern Iron County. Yeah. I started teaching paramedicine. I started working as a surgical tech. And then I did my undergraduate degree at SUU for biology, zoology, and I was accepted into a prestigious program, OHSU, Oregon Health Science University up in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, when I applied, and that's where I went to PA school. And so since then, I went to school full time. I truly took, even when I was doing undergrad, I did. That's when I shot the second Saints and Soldiers film. Oh, okay. I shot the Saratov Approach, and I did work for the church, obviously in the temple. And so those projects. So I was still very much doing acting. Oh. I just had to plug it in where I could amidst all the other jobs and education I was doing. And then when I went to PA school, I took a legitimate full 6 years off to get my master's degree and become a PA. and practiced medicine up there, and then just moved back from Portland to St. George to work emergency medicine. And now I'm throwing myself back into film, knowing that I'll never be truly happy until I can do both things. I can help people improve their lives, save and sustain life, and then also, influence people for good through good entertainment.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is like the stuff that I've seen you in, especially the recent years, like you just did Garibaldi's film, right, Out of Liberty.
Right.
And I remember thinking, like, it's really cool that you found a way to share light the way that you have. I mean, I look at myself, like I was in LA, I was doing like some really cool TV shows. I booked a really cool show, a role on Silicon Valley, which like kind of boosted my career. And yet I found myself not as happy as I wanted to be. And I remember thinking, okay, why is this? Because like I'm doing the shows, and my agent's calling me all the time. I'm getting all these auditions. And I realized that for me, I felt that I needed to create my own thing. And I needed to create something that's going to bring a lot of value and a lot of joy. And I think about the movies I used to watch over and over and how good it made me feel. And I thought, I'm not doing these shows in LA. I needed to be doing my own shows, my own versions of it. And so that's one of the reasons why I came back. And, now because of you, I'm also dear friends with your brother, Jason.
Yeah.
And it's been fun. Like I've worked with Jason quite a bit on a lot of projects. In fact, I just worked with him in January. And I just think like it's interesting to see like this circle of like where we've gone and where we've come back, and what's going to happen down the road,
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, I think to that, I've had the same, when I left Hollywood, it wasn't because I was disenchanted with it. Though to some degree, I found that I related very little to a lot of the Hollywood people. And part of that was because I have a testimony of Christ. I'm a Christian. I'm a Latter-day Saint, and the way that I lived and the things that I felt were important, not passing judgment on others, but it was very difficult to reconcile that industry with my lifestyle.
For sure.
And the things that I thought were important. And I knew that, Hollywood is in many ways very out of touch with what people want to see.
Yes.
And I don't think I am. I think I know what people want to see because it's what I want to see.
Yeah.
And I had the exact same thought, when I left. I would never have been able to leave Hollywood if I thought that it would be the end of acting or film or anything else. I would never have been able to leave. But what I knew is that I knew wonderful people. I knew people like you. I knew my brother. I knew Ryan Little, Adam Abel, these guys who I've worked with multiple times, Garrett Batty, Jake Van Wagner, McLean Nelson, all those guys. I could go on and on. I'm sure I'm leaving people out, and I feel terrible that I am. Jason Wade, who I'm working with now. Yeah. There's so many people I've worked with that I will work with over and over and over again. And I realized, man, these are the minds I want to work with. And there are things in our minds that only exist there. They don't exist in the world yet. And they're literally, the world is just waiting for us to put it out there. Yeah. And we can create something that can change people's lives for the better. When I see a film, when I see a show, when I tell a story, I hear a song, there's something I want to hear, even though subconsciously, maybe I don't even know what it is I want.
Yeah.
But if I leave and I don't get it, I feel dissatisfied. I feel like, I didn't get what I was searching for. And people are searching for that emotion that motivates change. That's something that they can relate to, the story they can relate to, that's going to go, man, I want to be different. I want to be better. And Hollywood is not trying to do that. No. Sometimes every now and then a little gem comes out, but they're not trying to do that. They're trying to shock. They're trying to offend. They're trying to be inflammatory and sensational. And they're trying to, expose people and even young people to things that they just don't need to be exposed to yet, when there is so much good story out there, but it exists in our minds. And until we get it out, it's not going to happen, which is why I love what you're doing. I mean, I hope we're going to be working on some projects for different companies, but just ways to just help. Kirby Hayborn, dear friend of mine, I've worked with him for years and years and years. I love what he's done. One of the best, one of the most talented guys I know. One of the most award-winning audiobook readers on the planet.
Yes.
And the guy can tell, and he just tells stories. And then, but that wasn't enough. He wanted to move back to Utah, and he wanted to do a show all about helping. And man, that's so, you know, I look up to him a lot. And
it's, you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but when I was in LA, Corbin and I got together to write some movies. And so we were sitting down and we were writing some scripts and stuff. And dude, if the time is right, we'll make those movies as well, because that's the thing, dude. I feel like film and storytelling in general is such an important art, and it's an important piece in the world. And we all play a part in it. And I think as we're seeing now more than ever, people just need to feel goodness in their lives.
Yeah,
and
that's it. There's enough dark. There's enough sadness. There's enough pain.
Yeah.
Plenty. And right now, it's a creator's world. I mean, it used to be that filmmakers like us, independent guys who, you know, are doing little things here and there, but aren't affiliated to a specific studio. You know, we were just, you know, if we maybe got a chance to get into a good film festival and get recognized or get bought, or maybe have a studio pick up our idea or something like that, a network, maybe we'd get a chance to get our material out there in the world. And now the need for content is there. I mean, there's big companies out there that are willing to take content, man. And if we can just flood the market with our ideas and the stories we want to tell, there's actually a place for them now.
Yeah.
And there's a way that we can steer people toward them in mass, and not because it's some, you know, financially lucrative venture. You know, of course, you know, if it's advantageous for us business wise, great. Yeah. But really, we're trying to make the world better. And I know that sounds very altruistic and, you know, cliche, but truly, like, now is the time. If we want to influence the world for good, now's the time.
We and this will be a conversation for another time, Cor, but definitely, like, and I feel like even now, like, there have been people that are coming into my own life that's opening certain doors for me, and I see that it's opening. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. We'll have to, like, explore this whole thing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, this is kind of like wrapping things up a little bit.
Sure.
Since I've known you as a 19-year-old to you're 40 now, 41?
I'm 28 now.
So since I've known you since 19 to 28.
Yeah.
No, well, I just noticed something about you.
Yeah, I'm 40. Aren't you 40? How old are you?
No, I'm 30. I'm 39. I'm 39.
Oh.
You know what's funny, dude? This is crazy. Your birthday is May 25th, right? 1979.
Yeah, dude, I don't know how you remember
that. I don't know. And you got married January 22nd, 2005.
Correct.
Right. Well,
what the heck?
January 22nd is my birthday, so I remember that. But
yeah, that one's good. We did that on purpose.
I know. I'm like, dang, good job, Corb.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing that I've noticed about you is you've always been a light. Like, you've always managed to stay alive no matter how dark things would get, right? And I look at the course of your life, and just ever since I've known you, all of our interactions, you've continued to stay positive and stay full of light. And I guess especially during this time of quarantine, especially when, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. And, you know, what's cool is, like, you're used to uncertainty being an actor. I'm used to uncertainty being an actor. But I just noticed that you've had this ability to stay alive and be a light during this time of uncertainty. So what would you recommend to people to have that kind of joy, have that kind of life in their life and light?
Well, I appreciate all the kind words. Yeah. I will deflect them and bounce them back to you and say that, you know, you and I had a conversation not that long ago that was pretty life-changing for me. And you came, and it was a time in my life where I was kind of needing to hear certain things. I didn't know what they were, but I was kind of waiting to hear them. Yeah. And I hope I don't put you on the spot with this. No. I'm not trying to embarrass you or make this, but really, you know the answer. I know you're asking the question, but you kind of know the answer. And I know this is for the people watching, but sure. You know, I can say truthfully, life has ups and downs. You know, recently I've gone through a lot of challenges. I have, life isn't always roses. You know, I'm intimately familiar with heartbreak and with my own family, my immediate family, the health and wellness of my daughters, something, a reality that I face every day. And she's, you know, she and all my kids are the light of my life, but there's heartache there because, you know, you want everything that's best for your family, for the people that mean the very most to you. And no one is immune from heartache. Everybody's going to hit it. You're not always going to feel like you're shining very bright. Yeah. And so when you say that I'm always a light, you know, that means a lot to me because I do try, but there are times where I feel like I'm pretty dim. I feel like I'm really struggling. And so I want to appeal, you know, really appeal to the people out there that are watching this that feel pretty down in the dumps right now. And one of the things that you said to me is, and I'm not going to quote you verbatim but the message of it just hit home perfectly. Mm. And it was you said something about when we realize that we already are, that our value can't be greater than it already is. Mm-hmm. And we are fulfilled in ourselves. Yeah. And we accept that is the greatest source of joy that we can have when we realize that we are loved beyond measure by a God and by a Savior who loves us, that our value is infinite as we are now, not as we can become. Yeah. You know, but as we are now, we are invaluable. And once we can accept that and understand that we have and are everything we need to be, even though we're imperfect, we have and are everything that we need to be, then all the gifts we have and all the talent we have is not being put to some hope of achieving validation or fulfillment, but is actually just put out there to bless the lives of others. Yeah. And once we do that, once we know that, and it's not something, you know, I grappled with that. When you told me that, you know, I got chills right now. I'll get emotional just talking about it. Cause I'm telling you, man, it was a big deal. That conversation I had with you, it changed my life. And I know I told you that, but you know, I drove home that night all the way back to St. George after the film screening. And I prayed for 4 hours. I was just praying. And I was like, man, that was what you said was so true. And I needed to hear it. And so once people realize that and finally just accept that, you know what, there's no achievement that will make me more valuable than I am right in this moment, in my darkest place. I'm still infinitely valuable. And we begin to love ourselves and accept that, hey, we all have talents. They're all different. Some of us haven't tapped into them exactly, but we have infinite potential and also infinite time. Like we're not running. Yeah, life is short. Yeah. Eternity is a long time. Yeah. We're not running out of time. Like chip away at it a little by little. But then, man, if we can get to that point, and those days where I feel, man, I'm not shining as bright. If I can turn my focus off myself and the things that I feel like maybe I'm not achieving or I'm not, you know, where I want to be, and I can make it about trying to bless the lives of somebody that I care about and put my focus on creating something that will bless somebody else's life. Truly, if the world could understand that service and compassion and charity, if they understood the joy that would bring to them, it's not for the people. It's not only for the people you're serving and giving charity to, but if they could understand that that is what brings them joy, we would wear ourselves out and we would wear our shoes out every single day. Yeah. Just trying to help people. So that's really, I think, where I find joy and I find the light is, and I love going to the ER. I mean, the ER's, it's a wild and crazy place. But I get to see people on their worst day a lot of times, in the deepest pit. And I get to communicate with them at a level that's we're just two humans. Yeah. And doing medicine is only one component. I'm only treating, you know, when somebody comes in and they're hurt or somebody comes in and they're sick, yes, I can treat that injury or I could treat that illness, but the humanity that we share between us, where they know that I love them and that I care about them, and I'm not doing this because it's a job, but I'm doing it because I genuinely want to be there. And I'm willing, I've said it before, I will charge a forest fire with a squirt gun, fully confident that I'll win if I feel like I can help somebody in that fire. And that's what it feels like going to the ER sometimes. You just feel like, man, can I ever get ahead? You know, can I ever help these people? But one at a time, we like chip away. And sometimes, you know, every now and then a patient leaves and they look you in the eye and they just say, hey, thank you so much. That, to me, I'm just like, man, that is what brings me so much joy. And I get to do it in medicine, and I get to do it in a different way in film, and all the, you know, the arts that I so deeply love.
Yeah, dude, oh my gosh. Well, thanks for opening up, man, and sharing. So like just being vulnerable with me. You know, it's so interesting because I myself am going on a journey right now. And one of the things that I've kind of struggled with, and I think a lot of us do, is I've been feeling for a while that I've been living a bit of a lie. And I mean, I feel like I'm a good person. I try doing good things for people, but I see I've been living a bit of a lie because I haven't been completely authentic to myself. You know, sometimes I look at the things that I've done in my life and I think, wow, I made these decisions because of expectations of other people.
Yeah.
And, or, you know, people were saying, and they're not bad things, you know, like, you know, going to school or whatever it is. But I realized that like, it wasn't about that. And I mean, you know, speaking about God, like I find for me that God is the happiest, and we can feel his love the most when we're being completely authentic to ourselves. Because then you realize, hey, you yourself are worthy of all the love there ever was, you know? And you don't have to try anything other than who you already are to get that kind of love inside of you. And a lot of times when people are like, oh my gosh, like, you know, we don't feel God's love or we don't do this. And I think it's a lot of it is because we've done so many things in ourselves where we've not been truthful to ourselves of who we really are, that like kind of blocks us from feeling that love that's so immensely surrounding us. But yeah, it's so great to know that like nothing we do in this life will ever be greater than who we already are. And
that's it.
It's a beautiful thing. And I keep hearing that message over and over in my life. And the more we can have that, more we can accept that love and that fulfillment in our lives, a beautiful thing happens. We genuinely start to love ourselves. And I think that's so powerful because what I look at so many people and like the grumpiness they feel, just like if they're kind of moody or they share whatever they share with the world, whatever negativity, I could instantly say, well, they're not being completely true to themselves. They're not really loving who they are. Because if they were genuinely loving who they are, then they would only be sharing that love, that compassion, that joy. And see, for me, that message is what inspires me to make movies and TV shows and stuff, because I think that message more than anything else heals the world. And so, you know, you've always been a healer, man. I mean, like even like in our mission, like joking around and like being that example to me, for the other missionaries as well, and also being able to help people as an actor, being able to help people and being able to motivate people and being a light from the work that you've done, and also working in the medical field, being able to help people. It's amazing, and you are that light, and it's great because I think that as the future continues to unravel, as we continue to see what is happening, true genuine love is the only thing that is real, and that's the only thing that we need to communicate with each other, because everything else it'll fade away, man, you know.
So true. And if we can inject that love into the work we do,
yes,
you know, it's one thing to love each other, but if we can find that thing and inject that love into the work we do, you know, it does change people. It does change for the better. And you hit it on the head that it's if we can really understand the love that God has for us, and then begin to love ourselves as we are, then we're gonna stop chasing these things that seem to always be out of reach, and we'll realize, man, I'm enough. And then we can start to focus on, okay, well, what do I have? What are these talents what are these gifts I have? And how can I take these and just put them out there into the atmosphere, and then, sprinkle love dust on people and get them to be happy. And that's it. That's it. It's the key. I really do believe that. And like I said, when I talked to you that day, man, that was a life-changing thing that I needed. And I'll always look back on that and be grateful for you for both just being my friend but also being willing to recognize that opportunity through the feelings that you got and the inspiration you got to share that with me, because it was in front of a movie theater at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
and it was what I needed. So pay attention, viewers, pay attention to those people in your life, because sometimes there's angels that pop in and out, and they've got a message for you. And if we can be quiet enough to just listen to them and then actually think about it, it can make a huge difference. So hopefully we can be some of those angels with the work we do, and
absolutely
make a place. It needs it now, because this is an unprecedented, wild time right now where we need each other.
Absolutely. Corb, dude, I could talk to you for hours, and I'm sure people could listen to you for hours.
They turned it off long ago.
Yeah, this hasn't been recording at all this whole time.
Oh, well, whatever.
No, you're such a great man, and I really appreciate knowing you and being. I'm so honored to be friends with you all these years, and it's been amazing. So, well, I'm excited for our future, for whatever projects we get to create together, and
stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
You might see these two mugs together on something. I don't know.
We got some stuff in the works. So we'll see what happens. But just in closing, thank you so much, Corb, for being here and for taking the time. And I know you've been working kind of in the front lines at certain times. So thank you for your service, for what you've done to help us all be safe. And thanks, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Okay.
Thanks, brother. Love you, man. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Okay. Take care.
See you, buddy.
See ya.